What is up, everybody? It is a week 5. It is week 5. Week 5 of the high school football season. Welcome into fifth quarter extra. I'm Simone Eli, Gerhard Mathagani, Patrick Walsh joining you as we just got off the air a minute ago, guys. A lot of great high school football games as we hit the midway point of the season. It's been a wild day. Somehow, we managed to get 16 games worth of highlights. And what's one thing that's really, really cool about high school football, but really, really cool about WKRG is that we go all in on sports. We go all in on high school football coverage. And even though Gerhard, myself, Patrick, kind of the face of the sports department, there are how many people? I mean, probably 20 plus people that are involved in the production of this show. And so shout out to everybody who is behind the scenes making this happen, because we're just the ones that get the great privilege of coming out here talking about it, being the face of it. But wow, so many people involved in this. Yeah,
they work long days. A lot of them are working on the news side for the first part of the day. They're out there getting interviews with mayors and police chiefs and getting news stories, and then they turn their sports hat on, and next thing you know, they're getting highlights of the #1 team in the state or nice Class 6A football. So obviously multi-talented folks over here.
Yeah, I mean, can't really thank them enough for all the hard work that they put in every Friday night. I mean, can you believe we're already halfway through the season?
No, I can't. You blink and it flies by. And shout out to Patrick also for getting the show up as fast as he does. If you remember last year when we started this show, we wouldn't even get rolling until like 11:30. It was just Gerhard and I, and so we're able to convince him to work with us, and so he's here and he's making magic happen every single Friday for us. So we certainly appreciate that, guys. A huge game of the week. And sometimes when you pick a game of the week, you don't exactly know if it's going to be the best game. And often you don't pick right, but often we pick right. And often tonight we certainly did.
Yeah, it's always a gamble usually. But if you go to Class 6A Region 1, a lot of times you'll find some great games. Theodore and St. Paul's, both teams entered with a 0 in the loss column in region games. And this one started off with a really big play there. Ross Delaney ends up getting the interception on the first play of the game. They go to Tank Jones, the Oregon commit, the scoring. Bang, bang, just like that. We have our first touchdown of the game.
This is the Battle of Steve Mask.
It is the Battle of Steve Mask. Of course, the longtime coach at St. Paul's won 4 state championships there. But then his team bounces back. It's Kendrick Abel, one of their kind of workhorses on the ground, gets the touchdown. We're all knotted up at 7. But then Ham Barnett's crew, they also respond as well. Watch Hayden Fincher rolling out, and then watch this catch here by Parker Davis. A nice one-handed grab, snags that thing out of the air, and he gets into the end zone. A big touchdown there for St. Paul's. That's the go-ahead. They're now up 14-7. But the ensuing kickoff. 14-7 was the final score last year, by the way, Simone. 14-7 was the final score. It's already now 14-14 after this kickoff return for a touchdown. They had a kickoff return for a touchdown actually called back earlier in the first quarter. This one, no flags, plays clear. We're all knotted up at 14. But then they go right back to the air. Tank Jones had an interception on a pick pass early on, but didn't have time to put in the highlights. He had other time constraints, but he has a second touchdown of the game right there from Hayden Fincher. And then Fincher once again going to the air and getting another touchdown. St. Paul's had a 27-14 lead at one point, but this score right here made it 27-20. That's when I left the football game.
Yeah.
And this one, you could just tell.
Was nuts.
You could just tell that this one was going to be a barn burner type game, because it felt like every team that had momentum, that momentum quickly ended. And then the other team had momentum, and then that momentum quickly ended. And I think I ended up putting the play from Tank Jones, I think I put at the tail end of this after this congratulatory celebration here from Steve Mask. I just put it at the end of the timeline, and here it is. Watch as Tank Jones here picks this one off.
Wow.
It's a big it's a big interception here. That led to a second touchdown of the game. Wanted to get that one in. But St. Paul's tonight falls to Theodore.
Wow.
Theodore wins it 42-41.
Yeah, and so the way that I found out the final score of this game is I go out on the set after chaos in the last 20 minutes before we get onto the show. I'm throwing on makeup, and I get out there, and our guy Pete, main anchor here at WKRG, who's also got, his wife was a longtime teacher for St. Paul's, so he has a lot of St. Paul's ties. Turns his phone to me. He said, "Did you see this?" And the last I had seen the score, it was 41 to, what was the final? 42, 41?
42-41.
Yeah, so it was 41-28.
Yeah.
And that's the last I had seen the score, and I'm like, okay, they're pulling away. It's like fourth quarter. I mean, that's just hard to do when you have two really tough defenses.
Yeah.
He showed me that score, and I'm like, excuse me? Are you sure this isn't a typo? No, that was, I mean, unbelievable fourth quarter effort at home by Theodore. I'm telling you right now, look out, because I mean, Steve Mask has given me hell, no question, because I have not believed in this team in a few years, and he would say that they've underdelivered for a few years.
He would admit that.
And right now they are hitting on all cylinders. Theodore is certainly in region play as they are undefeated at the midway point.
As we previewed our game of the week tonight at 6 o'clock, one of the main themes was last year's start in the region play compared to this year's start in region play. Last year they lost to McGill-Tulane. They lost to Spanish Fort. They lost to St. Paul's. They lost those 3 games by a total of 12 points. They have now avenged all 3 of those losses and remain undefeated. One game kept them out of the playoffs last year. You have to imagine that this year they're feeling much, much better because this was a point of emphasis to be able to get to a nice start in region play and still undefeated right now.
Yeah, we're going to continue on with highlights, but we will hear from Steve Mask here in a little bit. We had the chance to hear from him post-game. We'll have that coming up in just a little while. Guys, as we roll on here, let's bump up to 7A. This could have been our game of the week. There's no question about that because a huge one when you look at these two teams in Baker and Daphne. Of course, we know a lot of high expectations. These are two teams that could certainly battle for the home playoff there in 7A Region 1. So over at Baker and West Mobile, and another than a guy named Agent Kieran, also in attendance in this game. Go ahead.
Well, keep in mind, he said that he's been training. Tate Graham.
Well, listen, if you're going to learn from somebody, he's certainly one of the guys to learn from, no doubt about that. Tate Graham did have a couple errors in some of the highlights that we have here. There was definitely a defensive battle in this game, and there's Tate Graham with turnover. However, Speedy Wheeler and company able to punch it into the end zone to get the scoring going 7-0, and that would stay at that score there for a good little while. A little bit later, Tate Graham once again trying to find his receiver, and this ball just is one of those that just like slips out of the hands and into the hands of a DB on the other end, of course. So a great heads-up play there by Daphne, but once again, Baker kind of shooting themselves in the foot a little bit. However, on the other end, our Zaxby's player of the week and Christian Seeger doing a great job all season, really just overthrows a guy here in double coverage, and then a great play on the ball here by Baker, no question, for the defensive effort and the interception. However, this game would go the way of Daphne, which I'm not going to say I wasn't surprised if Daphne was going to win. But the final score in this game, Patrick, I think we had this definitely on the show. The final score in this game, 34-20, was the final in this game. And man, what a huge win that is, no doubt about that for Daphne, because Kenny King is 10 years right now, 10 years into his tenure there for the Trojans, and is looking to turn the corner. Looking to get Daphne back into the championship ways that they are so desperately wanting to be. And a win like this over a Baker team that has had a home playoff game the last 2 years is ginormous for Kenny King.
But they were like the number 2 seed just a year ago to MGM. 2 points of emphasis on this preseason. Kenny King talked about how they've been this close. Either they've been this close to winning a playoff game or they've been this close to hosting a playoff game. He said that they wanted to do all the extra stuff. If they've been working out 3 days a week, they want to get that 4th day in. If they've been sitting in the second row, they want to sit on the front row. They're just doing all the little things to get it right.
You could tell when we were out there.
Exactly. And then we went out there on Tuesday to crown the Zaxby's Player of the Week in Christian Seeger. And we saw palpably how much that team has for one
another. There's no doubt.
They are just feeling like everybody's pulling in the exact same direction, and they know what they have to do. And if it takes that 1% extra, everybody's on board to do so. And it shows up in games like this.
It does.
It shows up like they did in the season opener against McGill-Tulane when they were down early and then came back to win that game 29-28. These are the kind of statement games that all that hard work, you talk about that coach speak. We're working extra hard or we work out whatever. This is how it shows up in games like this.
It does. And honestly, it's one of those where you finally are just kind of like seeing the payoff.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of coaches that aren't going to invest a decade of time. There's a lot of schools that aren't going to invest a decade of time into a coach
100%.
either. A lot of them.
100%.
In this state, in 7A, all throughout but definitely on the Gulf Coast too. They want to see it turn. They want to see it turn quickly. So for these two to make it work, Kenny King and Daphne, find the pieces, lose some pieces, be able to fix what they had to fix on both sides of the ball, and now to get a win like that on the road is one of those turning point moments where you say, okay, with this we're back on track. We did have the loss to MGM earlier in the year, but is this going to turn this program? And like you mentioned and like you alluded to a minute ago, when we honored Christian Seeger as our Zaxby's Player of the Week, it has been a minute since I have seen a high school football team like each other, enjoy each other's company,
100%,
laugh with one another, post a very difficult Tuesday practice. Nobody likes practice on Tuesday. It's always the toughest practice. It's been a long time, and it was actually very refreshing. That was how I felt. I told Coach that walk on field. It was refreshing to see guys, young teenager guys, just get along, laugh with each other, and have a good time. And that's what you saw there with the Daphne Trojans.
I think they felt stagnant for such a long time. They want to break. You could tell they want to break loose. They want to break loose from being one and done in the playoffs. They want to break loose from this run that they've had, which has not been bad.
No.
It's not been bad, but they want to win championships, and they're putting in the work. And like you said, it's really showing up, late in the year. But as you said, the perfect kind of games for coaches are the games you do not play well and you win, because then you can point to all the mistakes and say, hey, guys, we still have another leg up. We can still play a little bit better, and they got that win today.
Yeah, and especially on the road. Guys, if you're just tuning in, this is Fifth Quarter Extra. Simone, Eli, Gerhard, Mathagani joining you. We just got off the air a little while ago. We have 16 games worth of highlights, plenty more scores to bring you over the next 50 minutes or so here on Fifth Quarter Extra. Appreciate you tuning in. If you're joining us from Facebook, please join in on the conversation with the comments. Let us know what game you were at tonight. Let us know what scores you're looking for so we can fill you in on what is happening throughout the Gulf Coast as we roll right along. We've already told you our game of the week, St. Paul's at Theodore. Theodore able to get it done with a comeback victory in the fourth quarter. They win 42-41 in 7A. Like we just mentioned about Daphne beats Baker, and what a lot of folks would say was an upset victory, but a big one for the Trojans. No question about that. Let's head to 6A, where third-ranked Saraland has been all that in a bag of chips and more for Jeff Kelly over the last few years, and they once again were tonight against McGill.
I want to pull up what their record is when they're at home, because it feels like they just never lose at Spartan Stadium. And Jamison Roberts gets the scoring started here early on with his legs early, and keep that in mind because he's a true dual-threat quarterback. Blaine Beret for McGill-Tulane. Pass gets picked off here by Derek Durgan. A nice return here. Really sets up head coach Jeff Kelly, who's you can see he's pumped up about that one. And Jamison Roberts finds Deshaun Spencer, fires that one into the end zone.
I swear, they just like plug and play, bro.
They certainly do.
They really do.
And then my favorite part of that show, of the fifth quarter, is the swag surf. We did a little swag surf underneath the video. And then a big defensive play here. Everybody thinks Saraland think of offense, but big defensive play as well. And then Jamison Roberts with a touchdown run here. One of our 22nd State Bank Play of the Week nominees. Go to the poll right now, WKRG.com, and vote for either one of the three plays. We had three great nominees, but Jamison Roberts' touchdown helped Saraland pull away in this one. The final score, 43-10. They remain undefeated. They got a bye week going into next week. Jeff Kelly's crew just continues to play well, especially at home.
Yeah, and Jamison Roberts is all that. This is a guy who has followed a string of talented guys. He plays for Jeff Kelly, who, of course, was a standout quarterback at Southern Miss, one of the greatest ever for the Golden Eagles, and now is really turning remarkable high school student athletes into great quarterbacks who go on and sign big scholarships like we just saw with KJ Lacey. Jamison Roberts, without question, is the next guy that is already doing that. We saw a flash of it last year. He has Saraland in a really nice place right now as they go into the midway point. So Saraland gets the big victory over McGill-Tulane. Over on the other side for McGill-Tulane, though, this not all is lost. I mean, in 6A, it's one thing we know about 6A. There's no question that as we get into the final few, this is a region of 9 teams, for the love of the Lord. I'm not the state or somebody put that together. I can't figure out math sometimes. And so, I mean, right now, 9 teams in that region. And so every single week, they're playing a region opponent. And by the way, it just happened to be the most stacked region, the most stacked classification in the state of Alabama. And Region 1 is, Lord Almighty, is it hard? It's very difficult. And so you never know what's going to happen. All that to say, when you get down to the end of the season, you get into those final few region games when people really start to play ball. That's when Steve Meyer started talking about losing 3 games with 3 points and how they were just looking on the outside looking in. And now they're 1 year, and now here they are 4-0.
Yeah, I mean, everybody talks about these razor-thin margins in 6A Region 1, and we have talked about this before. It is not certain games that separates the teams that are playing in the postseason and the teams that are sitting at home. It is possessions.
You're right. Honestly, that is such a good
That's
point.
The separator.
Jesus.
It's possessions in these games, and we're seeing these tight games play out in real time.
And by the way, this gave me like chills a little bit. It's possessions that is the difference in who wins a state championship in 6A.
That's exactly right. Yes, because the razor-thin margins.
It is literally possessions. It is inches. It is yards. And Saraland knows that. We've seen that for several years now. There is no doubt that 6A is the SEC of high school football in the state of Alabama. Speaking of the SEC, because it's not far off, is Class 4A. And Jackson has been the number one. They were the unanimous number 1 team coming into the year. And still a number 1 team, getting all those except for one, and someone in the region in St. Michael is getting the other vote.
Yeah.
Tonight, a top 10 battle against Mobile Christian.
Yeah, this has been a really interesting region to watch, and because I think everybody just presupposes that it's going to be Jackson 1, St. Michael 2, or vice versa between those two, and then everybody else is fighting for 3 and 4. But don't tell that to Mobile Christian, because Mobile Christian is a team, they just hoisted a blue map just a few years ago.
An undefeated 15-0 year, by the way.
That's exactly right. And our now JBT Power Coach of the Week this past week, Ronnie Cottrell, who's over at TR Miller, he led them to that championship.
Shout out for this thank you text, by the way. I love our guy.
Exactly. Yeah, he's been great. He's been awesome. But now Charles Lawson and company leading the crew, they really made it hard on Jackson early on. The hard hitting here. This is a team that was not. They're not.
They don't look scared. They ain't scared. No,
they're not scared at all. And a bunch of names to shout out here. We're talking about Landon Duckworth, Demarius Jackson, also Demarion Gaston was a big player in this game as well for Mobile Christian. That is Jason Todd going into the end zone for the touchdown as the Leopards took a brief lead, 6-0. But then Jackson would be Jackson a little bit later on, and they would find their offense, and they would shake off a really slow start early on. 42-14 was the final score, but give a lot of credit to Mobile Christian. If they do slide in, whether it's the 3 or the 4, if they do make the playoffs, they can go on the road. Let's just presuppose some things. If they are the 3 or the 4, they can go on the road and beat a region champion or a team that comes in second place. This 4A, we talked about 6A. The 4A Region 1 is really, really stacked as well.
Yeah, no question. Guys, if you're just tuning in, this is Fifth Quarter Extra. Simone, Gerhard, Patrick joining you. Want to give a quick shout out to all of our good friends who are checking in tonight. We appreciate everyone checking in and having yes, Rodney, we did fix the echo situation. Thank you for the comment there. Yes. We got that figured out. I appreciate it. He said just might be Simone. That is rude. That is not. It was not just me, but we got it handled. No question. Guys, thank you so much. Kimberly, thank you for joining us from Brewton. Sammy, thank you so much for the comments, guys. Keep the conversation going. Joan, Keith, Rodney, everybody enjoying it here on Facebook. Again, Fifth Quarter Extra. We are rolling right along here in week 5 of the high school football season. Let's bump up back into 7A and talk about Foley and MGM, because the last couple of seasons, it's been MGM's region the last 2 years. They're the 2-time defending region champion there under Zach Golson and company. They had, and their offense is absolutely one of the biggest reasons why. Jeremy Manhennett right here connecting with his favorite target in DeMarcus Broughton Jr. He would do it there, and he would do it a little bit later. I think I said on the air, and I'm going to say it here again, I could have caught this pass. No offense to DeMarcus Broughton Jr. There's no question he's better received than I am, but there is nobody within like 15 yards of him.
Oh, yeah.
But regardless, 2 touchdowns there for MGM up against Foley. They're going to get the win 50-7. So a lot of success here for MGM, rolling right along as they stay undefeated in region play.
This is neither here nor there. I don't know if Patrick can bring those highlights back up, but
bring them back up, Patrick.
He
got that ability.
I honestly, this might be one of my favorite uniform combinations. This
you're obsessed with the black.
They usually
it's not even black.
No,
but yeah.
They usually go all black, and I love the all black look. But this little powder blue action that kind of matches the what you see in the end zone there. I really like it. I think it's a good look. So, and I know the kids
Zach Golson's got swag.
Oh yeah,
he's got swag.
And all the kids love it. They love
Alex Page, his offensive coordinator. He's got swag too.
Absolutely.
Yep.
No. I just wanted to say that because between that one and the all red from St. Paul's, those are 2 of my favorites. They just really mesh well on that field. And so not only, what's the old Dion quote, you look good, you feel good, you play good, you play good, they play good.
I don't know if
That's the end of the quote. That's Dion's quote, by the way. That's Dion's quote.
And then on that last throw to Broughton, man, that was like, literally it was like backyard football.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to toss that one up there.
How big has he been? We talked.
I thought you were going to talk about how big Broughton is.
Well, he's a monster.
I just saw him rocking towards our camera in the end zone there, and I was like, wow.
He's a monster. And what I know Zach Golson has to really, really love is the fact that, Shondell Harris played quarterback for them last year, and now having Manhennett really develop him and being the player that he is, lets Shondell Harris play defense, his natural position, what he'll play in college. And let the offense really run through Manhennett, and they've been on fire right now. The Vikings, still the Vikings, top 5 there in Class 7A.
Yep, our guy Brandon Cotton Our deputy there from Biola Battery and big Theodore fan. He'll make that known. Shout out, huge win for them Bobcats. It sure was, man. What a comeback victory over there in South Mobile County, 42-41. The big win for Theodore. By the way, Brandon, thanks for taking my call earlier when my yard was on fire. Appreciate you calling the fire department. All right, guys, we'll get to that conversation a little bit later on Fifth Quarter Extra. No worries, no structural damage. Everything is good. Just a lot of black grass, according to my son. All right, guys, we're going to roll right along with Fairhope and Robertsdale in Class 7A, Gerhard. Fairhope, Robertsdale, two teams right now who are not loving where they've been in region play and trying to notch a big victory in week 5 to try to turn the corner there. Yeah,
you have a kind of a veteran coach versus a new coach. You have Justin Jones over there at Robertsdale, Tim Carter, the veteran coach there at Fairhope. And Fairhope, we saw them a couple weeks ago get that big win over Faith Academy. It looks like their defense has been rolling. You know, this is a Pirate crew that has obviously been really proud for a long time now, and then now, you know, making some plays happen. Trey Gardner and Fisher Southall connecting here, a nice, beautiful play. We saw earlier Grant Thompson getting a big play as well, and Brian Martin, I should say.
I said that wrong on the air too. I'm sorry, Brian.
It's Brian. It's the R and the Y.
Oh, it's the O. Which means the O.
It's the R and the Y to me. The O's placement.
It's the O, isn't it?
The O's placement. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Well, whichever way. Reading is hard. It's unfortunate that that's part of the gig for us. But Brian Martin. And then, okay, wait, let's run that last play back, Patrick, because that right there is certainly worth. Go back, my guy. Keep going. Keep on going back to the beginning of the step. Okay, so right here, Robertsdale, Jacob Jones trying to make a play, but his buddy, Dagan Jones, says, I'm sorry, my guy. No. Same last name, different jerseys, however. Forces the fumble, gets picked up by Dylan Gilbert, who takes it in for the scoop and score. Heck of a play. Honestly, it was up for consideration for one of the Play of the Week honors, but we did have some young gun freshmen get some things done in Cottage Hill, and that did bump you out. But you got a good 4th place.
No. You got others receiving votes from the fifth quarter crew.
Someone's got to. Someone's got to have it. So,
from the fifth quarter crew.
Fairhope wins 47-9 over Robertsdale. All right, Gerhard, it's your time to talk about Alma Bryant.
Okay, Alma Bryant obviously playing Davidson tonight there and over in Irvington today. And I tell you what, Coach Lambert and company playing well, especially offensively behind their main guy, their quarterback, Jacob Spivey, scrambles and gets this one into the end zone. 4 touchdowns. Big day for Spivey. And then he would later do it with his arm. The second quarter now, they extend that lead as Spivey finds Kingston Butler right down the middle of the field. Just throws that one on a dime, and then Butler does the rest. Goes into the end zone for the touchdown. A little extracurriculars right there. And you see the touchdown celebration for Davidson. However,
he like punched or pushed a guy, whatever that was.
Yeah, he kind of did a little bit.
It's sports. It's violent.
And then it's Mackay V, as we lovingly call him, with a nice pass there to Jaden James for a touchdown. Bryant really fighting hard in this one, playing hard, but Davidson gets the hard-fought win, 28-15 the final score.
Yeah, so right now, let's talk a little bit about the 7A Region 1 standings. I have them up right at the moment. We're going to resume with highlights in just a minute, but after we kind of look at what things look like after this week's win, MGM is going to stay undefeated in region play. So they're going to move up to 3-1 on the year in region play after the win over Foley. Okay, so Baker... Obviously, the Baker-Daphne game is going to have a huge impact on what this region looks like as it relates to the 2 and the 3 in 7A Region 1. Because right now, both teams are going to be 2-1.
Right.
So that means that Daphne, because of the win over Baker, and they only play once in the year, they're going to have the edge. They're going to have the tiebreaker in that game. So right now, it's going to go MGM. It's going to go Daphne. When you're looking at 3 and 4, so Fairhope stays undefeated. I should say that Fairhope will stay up there technically at 2 because they are undefeated. Right now, I think that if we're all just like being honest with ourselves, Baker, Daphne, probably a little bit stronger team right now than Fairhope is. Regardless, it would be MGM and Fairhope, and then it's going to be Daphne and it's going to be Baker right there. The other 4 on the outside looking in as it stands currently.
Yeah, so I mean, it really highlights what you were talking about with Daphne's win today over Baker. It is huge because
a lot of ball to play.
Yes,
there's a lot of ball to play
for sure.
But it's just you cannot overstate how these Week 5 games are so significant to what things will look like down the road.
If it comes down to a tiebreaker, these are where these games matter.
Yeah.
And Daphne right now has the leg up. Of course, Daphne will still, Daphne has already played MGM. They've already won that game, so MGM feels like they're cruising because they feel like it's dog eat dog on the back end or the teams that are below them right now. But as you said, Fairhope's still undefeated as well. So still a lot of football to be played, but some really interesting matchups. But tonight's games, I think, will go a long way to painting that picture in the playoffs.
Yep, let's roll right along, guys, because this game, this one had me about falling out there on the set during fifth quarter over on the air on News 5. We're talking Citronelle at Viger, and when we got the score in, we didn't have a final score.
Yeah.
But I didn't think right now. I mean, right now Viger is #1 team in the state for a reason in Class 5A. They've been running through everybody, no problem. And so here early on in this game, obviously Sammy Dunn can do it all, and when he hands it off to guys like Garrett Holcomb, so can they. So they punch it into the end zone, and it's 6-0 Viger early in this game. However, Citronelle really not backing down. Here's a great defensive effort you're going to see from Kobe Weaver getting it done. Picks off Sammy Dunn and going the other direction. Viger's going to get into the end zone later. Sammy Dunn, very accurate, as we often see him, going to connect with his receiver there. That's Michael Lolland, and it's 12-0 at that point. So as far as I know, at this, the latest update that I saw was that Viger was, doing what we kind of expected in a struggling Citronelle team right now. They're looking to kind of get some pieces there. Coach, doing a really, really good job, no question, but expecting that Viger is going to pull away in this game. However, when we went on the air, the update that we had was that Citronelle led this game 21-20. 21. So we're sitting there wondering, okay, what is going on? Come to find out, and correct me if I'm wrong, folks. I know there's some Viger folks that are watching right now on Facebook, but Viger scored, according to social media, Viger scored 2 touchdowns in the last 2.5 minutes to win this game 33-21, and what I would absolutely consider a nail biter, because the #1 ranked team in 5A absolutely went to the semifinals last year. Obviously, Coach Jack goes from LaFleur over there to Viger. A lot of expectations right now, and for key returning players. And so, man, for them to kind of pull that out at home, you just wonder if that was one of those, like, hey, you were taking a breather, and you learn pretty quick, man. You better get right or get left.
Well, that's true. And when we heard that score on the air, the very first thing I thought, because I saw Viger 7 days ago, and the very first thing that I thought was that, obviously Citronelle, they're coming off the really bad loss to Williamson last week, 57-5 was the final score in that football game. So we kind of thought that Viger might do something similar. Yeah. But this tells me 2 things. Number one, Citronelle is really still playing hard, and Coach Jason Rouse got these guys really playing tough football, and as you said, had that lead late. But also one thing I took away was how much that UMS Wright game really beat up Viger, because that was a physical football game.
And UMS has been physical forever, but now they've got some offense going too under Sam Williams. And so you put those 2 things together, and they're hard to play.
And I wonder how much of that carried over into this week, just the physicality of that game. Yeah. But then they showed the heart of a champion, as Viger does, and say, hey, we're down. We need some big plays late, and they were able to dig deep and find them.
Yep, no doubt. So Viger stays undefeated with that win. Citronelle, there's no moral victories, of course, but I think you got to be really, really proud of what it is that you're able to do in that situation. All right, Bayside Academy has punched their way up into the top 10 rankings. Flomaton last week, they were in the top 10, but they lost.
Yeah, it was a really interesting situation in Class 3A, because Flomaton was number 9. They lost to T.R. Miller, who was number 4. T.R. Miller bumps up to number 3, and Bayside Academy actually takes Flomaton's spot there at the number 9 position in Class 3A, but playing at Flomaton. I shout out a few names here on the highlights. Davis Barnett hit Monroe Parton for the first touchdown of the game.
Who is that?
Yeah, you saw a big hit there. But he took the hit, but Davis Barnett's pass to Noah Kane is a touchdown. He took a huge hit there from Noah Kane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shout out Noah Kane, bro.
Oh, yeah. And
that hurt me, and I'm sitting here.
The Hurricane's not going away, though. This is a really nice touchdown pass here from Braden Nall to Camden Martin for the touchdown. However, it was just too much Bayside in this one. That was 27-7, and Bayside pulls away 49-7. And Simone, I'll tell you what. I think a lot of people have counted out Bayside Academy for a couple of years now. And
is that
Coach
a shot?
Barrett
Because
Trotter,
honestly, I will say yes.
I don't think you're in isolation there. I don't think you're alone. I think a lot of people.
Well, I think a lot of times last year you kind of looked at me every time I said, like, "Wow, Bayside won," and you're like, "Are you going to drink the Kool-Aid at any point, or are you just going to keep doubting these folks?"
Well, they did feel top heavy. I'll be honest at the beginning of the season, but they've really been able to kind of flush out what they've been able to do offensively with this team. They've really trusted Davis Barnett. They've had big-time playmakers. Noah Kane has been one of them, as you've seen there in those highlights.
Yep.
Let me read you these scores for the season. After losing to St. Michael, which is there's no issue with that. They lost St. Michael 41-10, took one on the chin. However, since then, beat Marbury 41-19, beat Orange Beach 42-13, who beat Citronelle, by the way, who played Viger really tough. I know we don't do transitive property.
No, you do transitive property. That's like your favorite thing.
I do it in the sense of
I love it. I love that you do it.
I think you can't do it in the NFL. You can hardly do it in college. You can hardly do it in college. But
it doesn't mean you won't try.
The one place you can do, because if they don't play each other, the only thing you have is those common opponents. But Citronelle beat Orange Beach. Orange Beach beat Citronelle. Well, this Bayside Academy team beat Orange Beach 42-13. Then they played Monroe County 60-0. Then they beat Flomaton, who was the number 9 team in the state just a week ago, 49-7.
Yeah.
This is a Bayside Academy team that refuses to be ignored. And shout out to Barrett Trotter because he's doing a really, really strong job.
He's doing it quietly because there's a lot of coaches. I mean, their coaches have different personalities, and we love them for all the ways that they are. But Barrett Trotter is a guy who he just keeps to himself, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just his style.
Yeah.
But you don't often see that in a guy who played at Auburn as quarterback at Auburn, and now he's coaching a program that has had success. They've won state championships under Coach Lazenby back in the day. I mean, you have a really good job.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really good job.
Yeah.
But he's just kept to himself. He's okay with being the quiet confidence guy, and I think that's what he instills in his players. And I think that you see that come out in wins like what we just saw. And I have up their schedule pulled up. So they're going into the bye week, which is a great place. No, everyone loves to go into the bye week with a victory. And they're going to come out, and they're going to get Hillcrest Evergreen, Cottage Hill, XL, TR Miller, Tuscaloosa Academy.
I think
so. It's going to be, I mean, that Cottage Hill game at Cottage Hill, that's going to be a fun one to watch.
Cottage Hill at Cottage Hill, and then TR Miller at TR Miller 2 weeks later. I think that it's obviously still a lot of football to be played, but as of right now, those 2 games and those 3 teams, TR Miller, Cottage Hill, and Bayside Academy, seem to be the front runners for that region championship, and they all still play each other later in the season.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Guys, we're going to keep things rolling here on Fifth Quarter Extra. Simone Eli, Gerhard Mathangani, Patrick Walsh holding it down as we're recapping Week 5 of the high school football season. Blink, and we'll roll right on. Patrick, how about you roll us through your Williamson highlights? As our guy P. Walsh was over at Ladd Stadium. What?
What?
It's great. I mean, you're at Ladd Stadium, killing it.
Yeah, over at Ladd Stadium. You won't see me here. Sorry about that.
That's all right. We can hear you.
BC Reign taking on Williamson over at Ladd Stadium. That was kind of a surprise to me. I showed up.
Time out. Go back to the 3-shot. Okay, so I say to Patrick before he goes out to his game, luckily he's right across the street. I still don't even know why they did not play in their own stadium. But like, hey, Patrick, you know where Williamson is, right? He's like, yeah, it's right by Ladd. And I'm like, yeah. And he's only been here for like 4 seconds, right? So I'm like, hey, yeah, it's right there by Ladd. He's like, yeah. I'm like, so, but they don't play at Ladd. They're at Williamson. So he walks in. He's like, so guess what? What's up? How'd the game go? It was at Ladd. I was like, well, like, I'm sorry, bro. I'm like, luckily they pretty much share a parking lot. You know,
that's true.
I have no idea why they didn't play at Williamson. I don't know. I missed that memo. I missed that release from MCPSS. I'll be sure to ask.
I mean, honestly, it really could be anything. I mean, it could be like
it could be anything. Yeah. It could be. If you know, let us know in the comments. All right, Patrick, back to your highlights.
All right, here we go. BC Reign taking on Williamson here over at Ladd. Here we go. Alvin Dinkins going to connect with John Austin, who's going to muscle his way down inside the 5 there. Really nice pickup there. That will set up the touchdown run up the middle by Jamarcus Lett. That'll get Williamson on the board 7-0. A little bit of a surprise here for me. BC Reign was driving down the field, but this was 4th and forever. And, I mean, just chuck it up, see who catches it. But this time here, Jermaine McCree said, no, sir. Well, I'll take that. Williamson is able to get it done 48-0.
Very, very nice job on the highlights.
Hey,
there,
thank
Patrick
you.
Walsh. It's only like your 3rd or 4th game,
right? It's funny because you asked me, you were like, have you ever been to Ladd before? And I was like, yeah, I shot the Murphy game a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
and
that was a tough one for me.
That interception that I had was in the exact same spot as I had my first actual good touchdown.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
It's true.
That's
good.
my
you can be lucky and good though.
That's like my 5-foot radius right
there.
But it might be you. It might be you. You center yourself there, and guys know. You know what? We got to make a play.
Yeah.
P. Walsh is in position.
Honestly, there he is. Get to your guy. We got to make it on News 5. We got to make it on Fifth Quarter, no doubt. All right, guys, we're gonna roll right along. What's our next game that we're going to? P. Walsh. What do we got here? We're headed to the beach. Check in with Gulf Shores. Gulf Shores hosting Blunt.
Yeah, it's a big one here. It's a homecoming night over there in Gulf Shores.
Beautiful shots of
shout out to Jason Garcia,
our chief photog man. When he wants to do it, he does it.
Keywords wants to. And this beautiful pass here, Judd Harris to Carter Davis. Tutty, early 7-0 lead for the Dolphins. It was really the defense that got it done last week. This week it was the offense, and Carter Davis gets it in, and a huge play here in the run game. I'll get his name for you. Janoy Ferguson takes the handoff.
The little tots on the cheerleading outfit.
We said this about Garcia a couple weeks ago. When a kid says, "Hey, put me on News 5," he's going to turn that camera around, hit record, put you on News 5. That's for sure.
He's got like a cinematic camera.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Listen, and just to peel back the curtain, guys, Jason knows that we laugh at his expense, and he will not deny the fact that when he shoots highlights, when he wants to do it, it is jam up.
Beautiful.
And when he doesn't want to do it,
it's beautiful.
It is not good. So we don't know what we're gonna get, and then we've been pleasantly surprised this year. Ever since in the preseason, we called him out for it.
Yeah.
He's been 10 out of 10 every week.
It's
so
like
that's
an athlete. When you challenge them, they're like, you know what? Yeah. I'll prove it to you.
Yes.
28-0 final score. Happy homecoming on the beach.
And speaking of athletes, speaking of folks who can just do it all, let's go to Alberta really quick, P. Walsh, if we can, because Faith Academy in Alberta, our girl, Christina J. Harris, start the highlight back over. For the first game she has ever shot ever, Christina J. Harris. This is awesome. The first play of the first game. Okay, so you got to give her credit. Wow. I know she's proud. She texted me because I gave her a shout out, which she deserved.
She does.
Alberta's Brandon Nolan goes to the house on the first play of the game, and Christina stays right there with it.
I love it. And
then this.
Yes. Big,
one of the first plays for Faith Academy, Derek Binder.
She's been saying all season, I want to do football. I want to do football. She made
dang sure did football.
She made the most of it.
Yep.
But speaking of two new coaches in this football game, two teams looking for their first win of the season. Joel Williams for Alberta and Gaines Sullivan for Faith Academy, and I think both teams in both programs that understand they have some building to do. They have some developing to do, and it's good to see the guys still playing hard.
Yep, no question about that, guys. So a big win for Faith Academy and some new coaches there. Listen, a tough battle for sure. 48-20, two programs that are kind of in the rebuild, with new trying to turn the corner and kind of build back up. So certainly a lot to be proud of. 48-20, the final score for Faith Academy in that game.
Yeah, I got a chance to talk to Gaines Sullivan when we did our spring special, 33 teams in 33 days, and he's been at Faith Academy. He was the offensive coordinator for Hall of Fame coach Jack French. So all these kids know him. All these guys know him. They've been fighting really hard, and it's a really tough schedule. They played Fairhope at the beginning of the year. This is a team that had been to the semifinals just a few years ago, in the quarterfinals. They make deep playoff runs. You go back and look at Faith Academy's history, they're used to success.
Yeah, no
and I know they're trying to build up to that.
Yes.
But nice win for Gaines Sullivan, and congratulations on your first win as the head coach this year.
I love that, no question. All right, guys, let's go to Cottage Hill, where the Warriors right now, look out for the Warriors because they are killing it this year. Yeah. And several athletes on this team. Tootle, of course, is the name for a couple of them, but they've got plenty of athletes. Right here, Shadarius Tootle, the Georgia defensive commit, as they often do. They know how to coach there at Cottage Hill. If you're deep inside, they give it to the biggest guy on the field. Doesn't matter what side of the ball he plays. Direct snap to Shadarius in for the touchdown, G.
It looks a lot like what they do with Tank Jones with St. Paul's. You know what? You just hand it to number one.
That's what I would do, too.
And you give it to the D1 athlete. Carvel Jones knows what to do when they get in the red zone.
Yep, amen to that. On the other end, XL going to get a little bit of offense going, but not nearly as not much offense as you're going to see right here from true freshman Aaron Ward. If you don't see him yet, you will now, because he bursts on the scene, not only on the fifth quarter scene, but on the high school football scene. The true freshman, an insane run, as our girl Kate put on here in the highlights, an insane run for touchdowns. She said, "I love that."
Love Kate.
So then she says, and scroll down a little bit later on, Aaron Ward with an arguably even more insane run. An arguably even more insane run. Now, I will say this is a catch and run, but check this out. He reverses field, too, by the way. So, a true freshman, I don't care what classification football you're playing, here he comes directly towards Kate and into the end zone. He's going to bulldoze a guy. We're going to have to see this one twice, Patrick. Watch this right here. Good night.
Wow.
I mean, that's like...
Wow.
I think I did this to my brother several times growing up, and I probably got grounded both times. But, I mean,
you got to call him up
like, you literally just take him by, like, the neck, like... Doo-doo.
Wow. That's a freshman, by the way.
That's a whole freshman.
That's a freshman.
And that one of those plays there is up for our 22nd State Bank Play of the Week. So go definitely vote on our website, WKRG.com. That play right there by Aaron Ward, one of 3 plays up for nomination, nominated plays for up for our Play of the Week.
It's one of the hardest things that we do is narrow this thing down to 3 plays, but we picked 3 good ones for you and 3 pivotal games as far as it goes to the region.
Yep.
I know Jameson Roberts from the Saraland, he's on there as well. And so Yeah, you get to pick your play. But keep in mind, Aaron Ward, he shares a loaded roster for Cottage Hill. They have, as you mentioned, both Tudor brothers. They have Caleb Metzner, who's going to South Alabama.
Yep.
They have a stacked defensive line.
They're loaded.
Absolutely loaded. Yep. And if you think about it, T.R. Miller's already ranked number 3 right now. Bayside Academy's ranked 9. Flomaton was ranked 9, so they'll hover around the top 10. Yep. And Cottage Hill Christian, I won't be a bit surprised if they crack inside the top 10 here soon. That could be 4 teams in one region, either in or just around the top 10 in the state in Class 3A.
That's insane. Absolutely. Because we're sitting here, we always talk about 6A and 4A down here in Region 1 being the teams that from the Gulf Coast area that are going to contend for a state championship. And now here we are, several teams in 3A who are also right there in the conversation as well.
Yep.
Guys, if you're just tuning in here on the CTV app, the free WKRGplus app, thank you so much. You can definitely join us here on Fifth Quarter Extra every single Friday, but also every weekday, 2 to 4 for Southeast Sports Plus. Gerhard, Simone, Patrick will join you to talk all things Southeastern Conference football as well. As we roll right along here on week 5 of the high school football season, we're going to go back to the top of the show in just a moment to recap our game of the week. That was a big one for Theodore and a couple other 7A games. But before we do, let's head to Bayshore Christian, who tonight playing in Tryon Park there in Daphne. G.
Yeah, Bayshore Christian is an Eagle program. Obviously have a new head coach there in J.C. Todd and looking to get things going with the program. St. Luke's under head coach Joe Gilmore. They get a nice play early on here. Let me get you his name. As we had a great block and a great run. Clayton Robertson Jr. on the run, but it would not be for a nice great block for the Wildcats. And you know, the dogs allowed in the building. You know, dogs cheering for the Wildcats. It feels weird in the animal kingdom, but you know what? It actually works. And a nice play here on a direct snap as Jathan Richardson goes 60 yards to the house. This made it 22-0 for St. Luke's in the lead. However, Bayshore Christian just not going away in this one. Kai Harvey, a big play here, and then Andrew Hope would also get a touchdown run for Bayshore Christian. This is a program that is building. I know that football is in the very, very early stages, but they've already really built a great baseball program. Yeah. They're doing great work over there at Bayshore Christian. It'll take a little bit to get that football program going, but they're still fighting hard. They want to play football. They want to play well. They have a lot of pride, but St. Luke's wins it 43-20. So a nice game there for Coach Joe Gilmore. They made the playoffs last year. They're looking for another playoff run this year. I know there's been interesting situations going on there for the Wildcats, but getting it done tonight.
Yep, no question. We had a couple of Thursday night games, one of them over at Ladd Stadium, which back before MCPSS had, all the on-campus stadiums, the brand new stadiums, Gerhard.
Yeah.
Everyone played at Ladd. They had games like on Tuesdays at Ladd. it was like, hey, which night you want to have a game? I don't know, Saturday, Friday, Monday, whatever we do. So anyways, we had some Thursday night action. That was Spanish Fort at Murphy. Murphy right now, a really, really proud program that is just really struggling. So, that's certainly something that they're trying to figure out there for the Panthers. On the other side, Spanish Fort looking to bounce back, and they would. A couple of great plays here. Let's throw out some names. The Juju Bonner scored the first touchdown. We had a pick 6 by Mason Edwards, and Spanish Fort gets the shutout victory 41-0 under the Thursday night lights over Murphy.
Yeah, it was really hard last week, losing to Saraland the way that they did. 54-7 was the final score of that Murphy football game. So, when Spanish Fort lost last week to Saraland.
Was that the score?
54-7 was the final score. Yeah, and so
Bro, I swear to God, I wasn't even trying to hate. I literally forgot that it was that bad.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard to get off the turf on those kind of games. But you saw Juju Bonner, you saw that offense.
In fact, I thought that was the Theodore game that was last week. That was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was a couple weeks ago. Yeah. But, congratulations to Coach Chase Smith and company, able to come back and get a big win there. I know they want to string together some wins. It's been a win over Fairhope, a loss to Theodore, a win over Baldwin County, a loss to Saraland, a win today, and then they got Daphne coming up next week as they step out of region play.
Yeah, and that's not an easy task. That's of course that is a game that they're going to play. Of course, it's a rivalry game. It's one that certainly matters between those two programs, but it's tough when you're going through a stretch where you do drop a couple of region games.
Yep.
Obviously, Saraland's always going to be tough, but I think that Coach knows that game with Theodore can be one of those games that when you're sitting there at 5 and you're not in the postseason.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Toros don't know what that feels like. And I'm not trying to put anything on these folks, but don't make no mistake. they're all sitting there doing the same math. Everyone's doing the math. Coaches start doing math before they even kick off the season. So once they have even one region game, everyone's married to a coach. And how this works, you start doing okay, how many opportunities do we have? What's the likelihood here? What one matters the most? That game against Theodore was pivotal.
It was huge.
Both sides knew it.
Yeah.
Steve Mask knows they're right now being undefeated in region play, being 4-0 in region play. That's insane, and it's huge for the Bobcats. That's not where they were. They were the fire that they wanted from last year, from losing those 3 games by a combined 10 points, whatever it was. That he knows that stat off the top of his head.
12 points. They were 13 points away from the playoffs.
Absolutely, and so there is no doubt that Theodore is right in a position that they want to be. That right now, Spanish Fort, and that the margin of error is so small when you have a 9-team. It's ridiculous. 9-team region stacked up like that. And 6A, it could not get more difficult.
Yeah, and it's so hard because I know the association, they're trying to make the geography really work for everybody, and they're like, hey, it'd be hard to send somebody up to Region 2. You probably have to send Spanish Fort up to Region 2. I don't know what you would have to do to be able to alleviate how stacked Region 1 is from a geographical standpoint. But like you said, as of right now, it kind of is what it is, and there's 9 teams in, and as every other region, there's some regions that have 7 teams. The majority of teams make the playoffs. This is the complete opposite. The majority of teams don't make the playoffs. 5 don't, 4 do.
It's true. It's absolutely true. We had another Thursday night game over at the beach, Orange Beach, and Gerhard, look out for the Makos, my guy.
Last year, this Orange Beach team, about week 8, week 9 of the season, they thought they locked up a playoff spot.
That was a mess.
They were in a 3-way tie in the region. They were the 3rd team out. They were a 3-way tie for 2 spots. They were the 3rd team out. They were done out of the playoffs. This year, brand new season as far as their enthusiasm goes. They have a new stadium, as you see. It's beautiful over there. Have a new complex. They put money, they put resources into their stadium, and now the team is really coming together. Well, as we've seen over the last, I would say, couple of weeks here. They beat Citronelle a couple of weeks ago, and then now they're back in action. Aiden Key was a big player for this Makos football team. Scored a couple of touchdowns early on in this one. We'll also get you a couple of names here from the Satsuma side. I know it's been a really rough go around for Satsuma this year, but I'll tell you what, Coach Wade Waldrop and company, they've been really playing well, and I know, like I said, they have a renewed energy after everything that happened last year, and they're certainly playing as such.
Yeah, no question about that. And Coach Wade Waldrop knows what it takes to win at a high level. This is a guy who's been at bigger schools, done really well, and is now really reviving the Makos program, so to speak. I mean, not again, it's a very new program. This is a very new school.
Right.
So any success is kind of like laying the groundwork for building something even bigger. But I think when you have the resources that they've obviously invested in, the city money there in Orange Beach, and all of the things that they've been able to do from a mayoral standpoint, just what they've been able to do for the city, for it's impressive. And I think that now they're kind of reaping the benefit of the work that's been put into this point.
Yeah, and you got to love how schools do that and communities do that and continue to pull resources together to make their programs work.
Yeah.
We know about softball.
Have to.
We know about softball. I mean, softball's won 1 million state championships in a row. They've won the national championship according to Max Press or Orange Beach, and they put in the work.
We know. Yeah, we know.
And softball, they've done that. Basketball last year, they made the regionals.
And guess what? They went and got to the best coaches in the state of Alabama for girls and boys
basketball. Right. So you can tell they're putting in the resources. They're taking their investments and putting it back into the kids, back into the community.
Yep.
And football's doing the exact same thing that basketball's done, exact same thing that softball's done. Now they want softball results. Yep. Obviously, hoisting those blue mats.
That's unprecedented.
But
5 in a row.
They're building. They're certainly building, and tonight was a perfect example of that.
No doubt. Guys, if you are still with us here on Facebook, several folks are. I want to say thank you so much for staying with us. We're gonna go about 10 more minutes to kind of give you a recap of what we kind of had our eyes on. We're going to do rapid fire highlights here. Patrick, put you to the test. Let's start with our game of the week. Gerhard, you were out there in Theodore. The Bobcats, man, could not be a bigger victory for the Bobcats.
CJ Mosley night out there. I saw him. He was the honorary captain. He kind of ducked around in and out of there. But
you need a highlight or get an interview with him?
Well, it was funny because he was the most like sought after person.
Of course he was.
Literally, he couldn't get 4 seconds. Yes. He couldn't get 4 seconds to himself, and I talked to him very briefly. I saw him over the summer, and he was obviously proud to be back, proud to watch the Bobcats. Him and his brother Jamie obviously have put a lot of resources. But it was a back and forth matchup in this one. St. Paul's hit first. a Tank Jones touchdown, and then the Bobcats fire back. Kendrick Abel scores a touchdown. St. Paul's comes back. They score 2 more. They go up by 2 touchdowns at one point. This is Parker Davis from the pass from Hayden Fincher. And then the ensuing kickoff here as DeMarcus Beckham returns one for a touchdown. They had a kickoff return for a touchdown that was called back as well. There was just so much action in this one. And to think the score was 14-7 last year, they broke the 14-7 in the first 3 minutes of the football game.
Insane. If
you were a fan there and got your ticket, you got your money's worth there in this matchup as the Oregon commit goes into the touchdown here, Tank Jones. And I'll tell you what, there was a point where it looked like the Saints were just going to pull this one away and walk away with a touchdown. But Steve Mask and these Bobcats, they've just continued to fight and fight and fight and fight. Kendrick Abel here into the end zone for the touchdown. I wasn't there late. We had a reporter there late, and Cooper, and final score 42-41. Bobcats get the win.
And you look down this region. Let's just go over some region scores. We can recap all of 6A really quick. It's going to be obviously Theodore there. Saraland gets the win 43-10 over McGill-Tulane. Gulf Shores beats Blunt 28-0. Looking for more 6A scores. I'm looking at our score. Spanish Fort, like I mentioned on the Thursday night game, 41-0 over Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
So let's bump up to Class 7A, guys. A big one in West Mobile. Baker hosting Daphne and A.J. McCarron, speaking of former Alabama greats, national championship winners, also out in attendance there in West Mobile. We had a lot of defense in this game, so we won't show a ton of not the defense doesn't matter, it certainly does, but there were a lot of points put up in the second half of this game. Of course, we have a great staff that goes out and does a great job, and they usually get the first half highlights, sometimes into the third quarter, and then they cut out. And so whatever happens kind of late, unless it's one of our later working folks, a lot of these folks have started working earlier in the day, so they get the best they can get there, and a lot of defense there in the first half. I think it was 7-0, knotted at 7-0. Speedy Wheeler into the end zone for that score. And ultimately, it would be Daphne beating Baker on the road, and what will serve, I think, long-term as a pivotal win. I don't just mean long-term in this season.
Mm-hmm.
I think long-term in for the program as they're looking to really take the next step and become a home playoff team and a team that can make a run or do something there in the postseason as
They're
well.
very intentional with their goal. They're very intentional about what they want and how they're going about it, and how they're going to go get it. Honor our Zaxby's Player of the Week last week. It could have really gone to 2 guys. C.J. Gardner had an amazing game at wide receiver, and I don't know his final stats, but Kenny King and company, they just happen to be putting things together. 2 great quarterbacks in this one, but 2 awesome defenses and defensive performances as well. But as you mentioned, Daphne really taking that next step and raising a lot of eyebrows around 7A.
Yeah, shout out to folks here on Facebook tuning in. Logan Williamson tells us W.S. Neal gets the 55-0 victory over Mariana. All right, also in 7A, guys, just looking over throughout the 7A scores, going to pull up those really quick from our girl Gracie sending us some scores. Davidson beats Alma Bryant in 7A 28-15 there. Like we mentioned, Daphne beats Baker 34-20. Fairhope beats Robertsdale 47-9. MGM beats Foley 50-7. Those are our 7A scores from tonight. Let's move to Class 5A if we can. Let's check in with the Viger Wolves in that game. As we know, this one went down to the wire. The top-ranked Viger Wolves possibly could take an L in this game, which I don't think a lot of folks expected it to be close. However, in the final few minutes of this game, we come to find out that Viger scored 2 touchdowns to get the victory over Citronelle. They were trailing 21-20 with about 3 minutes to go, able to score twice and win 33-21 in that game. So Viger stays undefeated. Surely they'll still be the number 1 ranked team. I mean, I think they maybe lose a couple first place votes or something, but I think it's one of those opportunities where you say, hey, it's kind of a gut check time. You go into the bye, right? I think they're going into the bye week, and you feel better, a little of a breather. But we'll see.
I wonder how many pollsters. You brought up a great point that a thought just popped in my head. I wonder how many pollsters will do the transitive property thing and say, "Hey, Williamson beat Citronelle 54-7 or 57-5, and Viger, beat Williamson. We'll
just see the final score, and they probably won't even know what it's actually took place in the game.
All I'm saying is that if you do the transitive property, just use the Citronelle game. Williamson's 3, Viger's 1. I wonder how many first place votes Williamson does get for remaining remaining undefeated and being as dominant as they are.
No doubt.
It's something of fodder.
I mean, I think that if you just, they have outscored their opponents 204 to 67 this year. So, I mean, there's no doubt that they're playing really, really well. They'll go into the bye. They'll get Alberta, Faith Academy, of course, a big one against Williamson, BC Rain, and then Baker to round out the year. Okay, looking at the rest.
67?
Huh?
54, two what?
204 to 67?
204 to 67. That's what Vigers. I was just making sure.
Oh, yeah, 204 to 67.
It didn't sound right. Well, Williamson, 211 to 14.
No.
211 to 14. That's what I was posing the question. If some of our friends that are pollsters might say, "Hey, Williamson might be a little bit better," and just give some first place votes to the Lions. We'll see. We'll see.
You make a really, really good point.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you're not wrong. And you think about that game last year, they went into that game, those two teams, as the number 1 and 2 best defensive units in the state of Alabama in Class 5A. So, will be interesting to see the rest of 5A today, guys. We of course the Citronelle UMS did not play. Alberta fell to Faith Academy as the Rams picked up a big win there. As you mentioned, Williamson got a big win over BC Rain, so that kind of rounded out what we saw there in 5A. In 4A, we know that Jackson beat Mobile Christian pretty handedly, although Mobile Christian certainly put up a fight early in that game.
Definitely.
Also in 4AG, who else do we have in 4A?
Orange Beach Satsuma on Thursday night, and then we also had
St. Michael went to Escambia County
tonight,
so we did not have highlights from that game, a little bit further out from where we're at here in Mobile, but they get the victory 56 to 14 over Escambia County. Some other kind of out-of-town games, but also kind of in the viewing area as well. Thomasville beats Wilcox Central 66 to 0, so a big win there. Thomasville. T.R. Miller gets the rivalry victory over Hillcrest Evergreen 35 to 20.
Yep. And going back to Class 4A, shout out to Logan Williamson on the chat. Gave us that score as W.S. Neal gets that big win over Mariana, 55-0 there in 4A. I know we're going to Class 3A now.
Yes, sorry, I've been kind of jumping all over because we don't have a couple more minutes, so we got to sign off. Did we get I don't think that we have a Clark County JU Blackshirt. I wanted to see that one because isn't JU Blackshirt in the top 10?
I believe so. There's still. I'm checking the statewide scores. There's still a lot of scores missing. Let me scroll down there.
I'm sure that Ron Ingram will send an email saying that.